Hello guys, STRAIKER here, and welcome to World of Tanks. Today we're going to be doing a video about Tier 6 Clan Wars, and specifically the best medium tanks at Tier 6. So I'm not going to bore you with too many details, but to be pretty quick about this, the format of this video is going to go as follows. I'm going to discuss each vehicle with like a bit of a side note and what they're good at generally and how they should be positioned. But then I'm just going to link to my review of each vehicle, which I've done a lot more in depth. So if any of you guys are super curious about how to play a certain vehicle in randoms or otherwise, it's all going to be covered in different videos, which there will be links to as this video progresses. Just check on the top right the cards section of this YouTube video, and they'll pop up as it becomes relevant. So without further ado, let's get started. The first tank I want to talk about is the Cromwell, or the Cromwell B. Both of these tanks are absolutely legendary in Tier 6 Clan Wars for an excellent reason. They have best-in-class mobility, have great gun handling, great firepower, fantastic damage per minute, and generally all-around great tanks. Their view range isn't bad, it's not spectacular, but it's very much it doesn't have any real flaws, the Cromwell, but it has many magnificent advantages. And it's one of those tanks that's almost a jack of all trades, master of none, except for the fact that it is definitely master of damage per minute and movement capability. It is the fastest medium tank at Tier 6 at the moment, with a top speed of 64 km per hour and a power to weight ratio of 23.4. A power to weight ratio that wouldn't look bad on most light tanks, for goodness sake. It's just a little bit broken, and it's absolutely fantastic. So to move on, the T-3485 Rudy is the next tank that I'm going to talk about here. I specifically say the Rudy variant instead of the T-3485 that's in the game, because the Rudy just seems to have better gun handling, slightly better damage per minute, and in general handles better as a tank. Pay to win wargaming for the win after all. And so when it comes to the Rudy, I'd recommend getting the T-3485 Rudy, the actual purchase version, instead of the one that's actually in the tech tree. Though the one in the tech tree is not bad by any means, the Rudy is just better. So aside gone, the Rudy basically trades great damage per minute and great mobility for decent damage per minute and decent mobility with a side of fantastic alpha damage. Where the Cromwell gets 135 alpha, the Rudy gets 180 that it pumps out every 4.5 seconds, which is absolutely fantastic. It's a very fun tank to play, and along with that alpha damage, it gets some pretty great gun handling, so it snapshots like nothing else. It's even better than the Cromwell. However, its mobility does suffer because its top speed is only 54 km per hour when compared to the Cromwell 64, and its power to weight ratio is about 2/3 of that of the Cromwell, which means that this tank is a lot more sluggish and has trouble keeping up. But overall, I think it's a much better brawler due to it having some fantastic turret armor. However, it's not really great for the YOLO push style of gameplay that the Cromwell can do so well. Now the next tank I want to talk about is the Skoda T25. So the Skoda is fast. It has similar mobility to the Cromwell in top speed and in terms of acceleration. Like, they both can, on a straightaway, pretty much stay side by side. However, the top speed of it is only 60 when compared to the Cromwell 64, and unfortunately it has some issues when it comes to actually turning the tank. Where the Cromwell has a tank traverse of 50 degrees, the Skoda only has a tank traverse of about 30, which really hampers the side-to-side mobility of the tank. However, in return you do get some fantastic gun handling, and I mean best-in-class gun handling. And you also get some slightly better DPM than on the Rudy. In return, also, you happen to get a 3-round autoloader, which will spit out 330 damage every 7.6 seconds with a basic 100% crew. So the Skoda is really good at taking one hit from a Cromwell and returning 3 more and then pulling back around the corner. It can do that very, very well. And as long as it's deployed in a position where it can play that corner and go back and forth, it'll do great. However, if it's made to maneuver and actually brawl with a Cromwell, it usually will end up losing that fight pretty hard. Now, those are the 3 main tanks that I really wanted to cover. There are 2 more which I'm going to talk about. However, those tanks are much more specific use case style of tanks. They have very specific situations which they're good in. However, they are the best in those situations. But to keep it general, when it comes to the Cromwell or the Cromwell B or the Rudy or the Skoda, those are the tanks that in strongholds are the most reliable, and I'd recommend taking over any other tank really, especially when you don't know what map's coming up like you don't in strongholds or skirmishes. So let's maneuver onwards. The STRV M/42-57 Alt A.2 is an autoloader with terrible DPM, great penetration, great damage, and a decent unload time. Basically, this tank is slow, has horrible gun handling, but it has this one trick, and it can do 600 damage in 6 seconds and then pull back and reload for about 15, which, you know what, is not bad. It has its uses. As long as like the STRV is paired up with something like a Rudy, it can clean up a Cromwell in so little time it's not even funny. It's absolutely fantastic. You can wipe an enemy Cromwell off the face of the earth in about 6 seconds and then deal with his buddy pretty quickly too. It's absolutely great, and in terms of where this tank shines, it's probably when in combo with a Rudy or some other tank with high alpha damage. However, it also doesn't have that much gun depression, and as I said, the mobility is terrible, but it's almost on a new level. It has a power to weight ratio which is similar to that of most heavy tanks at 13.41, which is gross, but what's even worse is that its terrain resistances are bad, along with its top speed only being 45, which means that this tank has a hard time getting into a fight and leaving a fight. It's great on the defensive, but not much else. And the last tank I want to talk about is the STRV 74. Now, the STRV 74 has similar damage per minute as the Rudy. It is not bad. It is not Cromwell levels of great, but it's pretty decent. And it has a 150 damage gun, same great penetration as the STRV M/42-57. However, its trick is that it has 15 degrees of gun depression. It has almost twice the gun depression that the Cromwell B does, which means that in a fight over a hill, the STRV can clean up a group of Cromwell Bs just because it can shoot at them. The Cromwells can't shoot back without exposing themselves. It's absolutely fantastic. The other part about the STRV is that it actually has fantastic gun handling. It is officially now the best tier 6 tank when it comes to gun handling, which is a beautiful title for it to have. Though in terms of the cons, the STRV is slow. It again can only go 45, and this time it does have a better power to weight ratio of 16.31, but its terrain resistances are worse than on the STRV, so they both feel at about the same speed. They're both very sluggish vehicles. However, when the STRV 74 is placed on the hill, and when the STRV M/42-57 is placed in defensive position, they are the tanks that you want. I would not recommend them for strongholds, but in a situation where you have the defensive, or you can set up your map positions before you're actually getting onto the map, and you have areas where gun depression is going to be very valuable, I would recommend the STRV 74 wholeheartedly. And if you're defending, the STRV M/42 is also absolutely fantastic. So that's my spiel. That's all I have to say. Those are the tanks that I would recommend. If you're wondering about which ones I'd recommend getting first, I'd say Cromwell, Rudy, Skoda, STRV M/42-57, and then the STRV 74. In that order, acquire the tanks, and you'd be set for Tier 6 Clan Wars on almost every map. I'm going to cover the heavy tanks that are good in my next video, and I'm going to start getting reviews up for the heavy tanks and for the STRV and STRV 74 in just a bit, so please stick with me on those. However, reviews, if you want more about these tanks or more from me, are in the top right. If you like the video, please like it. If you want to see more from me in a different capacity, I don't always do these, I also cover games, please do hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time. STRAIKER out.